I can't remember the last time I walked into a bank branch. Must be at least 10 years, if not more.
Hello, George. Thank you so much for
My pleasure.
being able to take this opportunity with the society and giving, I'm sure it will be a great insight into the students. So we just wanted to know, how did your career journey start from right at the beginning, and education-wise and work experience?
Gosh, okay, right. Well, actually, I'm a physicist, and my PhD was in physics, in technology. And then I stayed in technology in IT at a very interesting time where I was actually responsible for all the new technology in trading rooms. So, you know, where you see videos of people jumping up and down and buying equities or selling currencies. Well, all the equipment they used was mine. We invented that and we installed it and we sold it. And I did that all over the world. And that was really good fun. So, yeah, I've been in Frankfurt, New York, San Francisco, Tokyo, Singapore, all those places. Then I moved from that more into finance, into a bank, and this was a very interesting bank whereby we had 5 separate operating divisions, and the board wanted to consolidate it into one big division rather than 5 separates, and so the chief operating officer and I took responsibility for that consolidation, for that integration. And that's when I found I actually enjoyed finance more than I enjoyed IT. I realised this was much more exciting, bringing new technology into finance, reorganising the way financial institutions operated, rather than worrying about whether email servers were up 24/7 or not. So after that, I stayed in finance, and I've worked for banks, for insurance companies, essentially bringing technology into play in finance. And yeah, I've ended up at Greenwich, teaching technology and finance.
That's a great path. Very, very long path, very interesting. I've never heard a teacher actually coming from a physics background.
Yeah, I will admit I'm probably fairly unique from that point of view. But yeah, essentially it underpins my intrinsic interest in all things technological.
So for students who are new to fintech, how would you define fintechs in today's accounting and finance landscape?
How's fintech?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'd probably characterise fintech as 3 separate, integrated, but 3 distinct strands. First of all, there is the very well-known cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and all of that, and all those different cryptocurrencies. And they're forever making the news because either they've collapsed in value or they've increased in value dramatically. That is only one aspect, an extreme aspect. At the other end, I would say, are the neobanks, the digital banks, the Revoluts, the Monzos, the NM banks. They are actually very quietly but very powerfully changing the banking landscape. They have forced the traditional banks, the HSBCs, the Barclays of this world, to introduce banking on your phones. It's in response to what Revolut's doing, but Revolut's rushing ahead. So that's the more traditional end of fintech. And then I think actually the really exciting bit is the bit in the middle, is the payment systems, where we have got the technology that cryptocurrencies brought in, the blockchain, and we've got the traditional payment systems, payment requirements, banking requirements, and that is being brought together in various payment systems, payment concepts like stable coins, like tokenized deposits, And that is, I think, revolutionising the way businesses can pay each other, the way that financial institutions can manage international complex transactions. So, 3 strands: cryptocurrencies, payment systems, and then digital banking.
Circling back to digital banks, one thing that I kind of been affected on is that I've seen that Revolut, Monzo, or anything that is digital banks doesn't have an actual institution, so like how Barclays is, where you can face the customer face to face. How do you think this impacts the community, for example? Is it beneficial or negative impact?
Oh, let me ask you this. When was the last time you walked into a bank branch?
A year ago when I had to change my home address.
Yeah?
Yes, I actually went because my Barclays bank wasn't working.
Yep.
So I had to go into the actual bank and I talked to a human, and I personally find it a bit more useful to talk to a human than go on all this internet stuff and click on that question and go to step 1 and go to step 2. So.
Okay, well obviously there's a huge disadvantage of huge risk of taking one personal experience, yours or mine. I can't remember the last time I walked into a bank branch. Must be at least 10 years, if not more. So from my personal point of view, I actually don't care about bank branches. I'm quite happy to open a Revolut account by taking a video of myself and talking to the video, getting it all approved within a couple of hours. Mm-hmm. Your personal experience is, hey, I need a human to talk to.
Correct.
I've also unfortunately found that some of the humans in bank branches are more salespeople rather than people to solve problems.
Yeah.
And if I want to buy something, I will make the decision what I want to buy from whom, rather than have somebody pushing something onto me. So from certainly a personal point of view, I have no problem with no branches existing for a bank.
Correct. And I think it's a bit more useful and more easy to go with and more comfortable because you don't have to go in the rain to the branch to change your home address.
Precisely.
Yes.
Precisely. But I can see it's an issue, and there are some demographics that are very uncomfortable with smartphones, that are very uncomfortable with using apps on their phones in general, who just want that social interaction. And fine, that's something the banking industry's got to find a solution to.
Correct.
But yeah, I'm at the moment all for banks like Revolut and Monzo and Starlink and so forth. Good luck to them. Keep going.
Good luck to them.
Keep going. You're doing a great job.
Which fintech tools or innovations do you think are having the biggest impact on accounting right now? I think we all kind of know the answer to that.
The biggest impact, wow. Okay, I would actually say the blockchain. Because it is undeniable. So transactions that are posted to the blockchain ledger are undeniable. They can be traced all the way back to the beginning.
Yeah.
They cannot be altered because of the various cryptographic locks that are in place in the blockchain. They cannot be altered. And therefore, from an accounting point of view, here is a ledger that tells you the truth. So reconciliations, auditing, I would imagine, would become much, much easier. But hey, I've got to say, I am not an accountant. I just about know the difference between a balance sheet and a P&L and a cash flow statement. Okay, so don't push me too hard on accounting principles.
Of course.
Okay, but yeah, I would have thought that from what I've seen, the blockchain being an absolute statement of truth, something that everybody can rely upon, would make reconciliations, auditing much simpler.
More easier. Interesting. So with all the world adapting right now and technology-wise, how are technologies like automation and artificial intelligence reshaping traditional financing processes such as auditing, reporting, or compliance. I know you don't have a lot of accounting, but just in general, how do you think artificial intelligence impacts the finance world?
Well, to come back to the blockchain, this rock-solid ledger, it is only a ledger, which is great for recording transactions, fairly limited for actually reporting things. And let me go to a side a little bit. When Bitcoin first came out on the blockchain, it was considered to be anonymous.
Yes.
Because everybody on it had their own ID. You didn't need any personal ID to open an account. Anybody could do it with any pseudonym they wanted. Therefore, it's anonymous. But very quickly, it became clear that because all the transactions are traceable, you can very easily, reasonably easily, build up a history of which address is doing these transactions, which address is doing that transaction. Sooner or later, that address needs to make contact with the real world in order to bring assets out or bring assets in. And there, through technology, you can identify the person. So, in the same way, I would see AI-based reporting tools being able to interrogate the blockchain ledger and essentially do your trial balance for you, do your reconciliations for you, highlight all the mismatched accounts, mismatched transactions, the transactions that haven't been completed yet, sitting in some suspense account. So I could see an AI-based intelligent interrogator of the blockchain, of the ledger, simplifying what I think accountants find tedious. Preparing trial balances and getting things to balance.
Do you not think it kind of impacts on the job industry? For example, what a bookkeeper would do, and with the artificial intelligence coming in, do you not think that would be able to steal their job, for example?
Steal their jobs?
Steal their job.
Yeah. Yes, of course it can. But there's also an upside. You know, it's 100 years ago, we didn't have computers.
Yeah.
So everything was done on leather-bound ledgers with pens. And hey, there was an innovation in the 40s where we had, or 30s, where we had mechanical counting machines. Then we had electronic counting machines. So when computers came in the 50s, 60s, all those rows of clerks who just added up the debit and credit columns in ledgers lost their jobs.
Yeah.
But they didn't. They reskilled, they did something new. And so I see AI not as a threat to jobs, but as an opportunity to go and do something more, to go and do something more exciting.
Yeah.
You know, let AI do the boring, tedious end of month, end of year stuff. And you now do something cleverer.
Work smarter, no harder. What are some common misconceptions students have about fintech and its role in finance or accounting?
Sorry, what? Misconceptions?
Yes, about students that have about fintech.
I think that the biggest misconception that sometimes quite irritates me is the fact that fintech, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin are used by criminals. It's the currency of the dark web. If you want to buy by the kilo, you use Bitcoin on the dark web.
You can use Bitcoin on the dark web?
You only use Bitcoin on the dark web.
Really?
Yes. It is the default currency. It is the currency. Well, it's international. It's nominally untraceable. There are variations on it.
Far down because it's trackable.
Yeah, there are variations on it that can scramble addresses and make it more untraceable. Some of the other smaller coins are just too small. and people don't have the confidence in them.
Mm-hmm.
So the misconception, and in a way it's true, the early days of Bitcoin, it was all about buying Kalashnikovs and Swiss passports and cocaine. And Bitcoin was a fantastic form of money for that because it's electronic, it's international, and you can use it to trade with other things. So it was great. But actually, so is cash. Cash has been used by criminals forever.
Yes.
It's anonymous. So yes, Bitcoin is used by criminals, but that's not Bitcoin's fault. Cash is also used by criminals.
Mm-hmm. That is correct.
Laundering money is all about preventing fraudulent cash obtained by criminal means, from entering the banking system. So we've got a whole raft of legislation to manage how criminals use cash.
Mm-hmm.
So don't blame Bitcoin for being a criminal scam currency.
I think
it's not the only one.
Yeah, I think people tend to blame Bitcoin for it because it's new into the world.
Precisely. Whereas,
so it's not as trustworthy, to be honest. Yeah.
We all know that we can go to the market and buy, I don't know, an M&S blouse for £5 cash.
Yeah.
And you think, I know where that's come from. I don't care. Here's £5.
Right. Yeah.
And we've been doing that since we were little. Bitcoin is new, and therefore, as you say, we blame it for being the criminal's currency. But it isn't, so is cash.
Because it's that change of routine. I think in every civilization or community, when it's a change of routine or anything new comes in order, everyone just goes off order for it.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed. So that's my bugbear about misconceptions about fintech, about cryptocurrencies.
Interesting. So, how has your industry experience influenced the way you teach fintech fundamental to students at Greenwich?
Oh gosh.
What skills do you use from your career that you're also interpreting? Yeah.
I've got to be careful here because I could get into trouble with my bosses.
Shouting at students.
First of all, it's focus on what is important and make sure you understand it. I find that in academia in general, I don't detect that this is very important, this is of secondary importance. From industry, I know you cannot solve all of the problems all of the time. You have to pick which problems you can address, and you have to decide how far down the line you're going to go when you say, that's good enough, I now need to move on to the next one. So without formally thinking it through, intrinsically, I know there is my bias that says, this is what you need to concentrate on. And that leads on to saying, you've got to understand the fundamentals of what you're doing. If you don't understand, you will end up with a pile of old poo. You've got to understand what you're doing. If you don't understand the fundamentals, go and do something else. You're just heading for disaster. And I also find it irritating that not all students take the work seriously.
Oh, yes.
You are giving up 3 years of your lives. You are giving up tens of thousands of pounds as an investment. Why do people still talk during lectures? Why do people not come to tutorials? If only you knew, I'm sure you do, but if listeners knew what was going to face them in the next 40 years, It's your life, it's your career, it's your income, it's your comfort of living standard.
Correct.
Just invest these 3 years. You've given it up. It's money that's gone. It's time that's committed. It's spent. So come on now, take advantage of it.
Correct.
And that sometimes really gets to me.
And especially when you do all this preparation before lectures and you see the turn up, isn't that great that people come and talk. I found it frustrating actually as a student myself, and I found it quite disrespectful to the lecturer or the teacher that prepares, and it's basically you guys, any teacher at university is giving us on the plate. If it's anything before an exam, they give us everything on the plate that is needed for us. I think what the issue is, it's comfortability. People don't want to work as hard to reach their goal, and they don't have that motivation, to be honest. So when they come, they kind of find excuses to distract themselves from the main point.
Unfortunately, I think what that does to me is that those students who work hard, who put the effort in, and who want to learn, I am more than happy to help them.
One last question. What advice would you give to students at Greenwich who want to stay relevant in a technology-driven industry? And how can they thrive for this?
Come to lectures.
Come to lectures. And don't talk.
I would pick up on something we touched on 10-15 minutes ago. New technology is coming. Fintech is coming. A new way of managing finance, of accounting for transactions is upon us. Therefore, take on board the technology. Take on board what AI can do for you. And don't just use it to make your life easier and get it to do the boring, tedious things. Think, how can you use the emerging technologies to do something new, to do something innovative? To say, hey, that's done, okay, now, what can I do? Can I manage a global corporation's trial balance, year-end accounts in a couple of hours? That's done. Now, actually, can I do something more interesting from a treasury perspective? Have we missed opportunities where we could have gained a more efficient use of our capital? I don't know. If I could invent something, I probably wouldn't be sitting here. But embrace technology, embrace it enthusiastically, and say, what can it help me to do that's new, that's different, that's exciting?
Correct. And I think, in my opinion, our generation specifically, we are blessed, I call it blessed, to have this advanced technology. We can use it for interviewing, preparation, or apart from essays, which is very, I don't really like using it, to be honest, but for example, for interviewing skills, I do use it. Or anything similar to it, or creating dashboards, for example, via Power BI or anything similar. So I think in our generation, like you said, is learn to work with it like your colleague, like your work colleague. I take it when I use anything Copilot or Gemini or anything similar, I take it as he's my assistant and I work with it and I try to develop even better, not just to do any tedious work like you said.
Yeah. So use technology not as a means of making your life easier, but as a means of making it more exciting. I think that's probably a good strapline to finish.
Right. Very good.
I think, yes, that's it. Great.
Okay.
Thank you so much, George.
Pleasure.
That is the wrap up of the podcast. Thank you so much for being so transparent with us and answering all these questions.
Okay, so good. But yes, it's a real point. I wish I could throw some students out of the class.